Have you ever gotten a reading assignment that felt like it was 1,000 pages long? Even if it was like 2 pages long, it was so dry and boring that you had to reread it at least 6 times because you just couldn't remember what each time was. Like you were reading it and you're just like, why am I reading about osmosis? What's osmosis? So you read it again. And it's just so horribly written that you're like, oh man, osmosis, still can't get it. So we're going to look at some reading skills that kind of break down that mundane school assigned reading for you. I don't know why I put what the writing is all about. I gotta fix that. Oh well, mistakes help us learn. Classroom motto. There we go. Scooch that over. Yay! Look how pretty that is. So we're going to take a look at some reading comprehension skills to make it a little less painful for you and kind of help you get as much of the information out as possible. Because I know if you're like me, you've read something for school and you're like, what did I just read? I just spent 20 minutes staring at this paper and like I don't remember any of it. It happens. It happens to the best of us. So we're going to take a look at some reading comprehension skills with a specific focus on main idea and the 6 W's. So with the main idea, it's what the reading is all about. Whether you're reading song lyrics, a poem, you're watching a video, you're watching a documentary, you're reading something. It's what it's all about. So the main idea, every story or paragraph has a main idea. It just does. That's the whole purpose. Like it can't really function without it. It's like a person with a brain. The main idea is the brain of whatever it is you're reading or watching or listening to. The main idea tells you what the story is about. I know it sounds very repetitive, doesn't it? But it's like legit. Everything has a main idea. The overall main idea, the what we call proportional main idea, every paragraph has not a sentence because that's like is the main idea itself, but the combination, what is the main idea of all of these combinations of sentences together? And then what is the overall main idea of all these paragraph combinations together? The main idea is maybe a lesson learned or the moral of the story. If we look at Disney or Pixar movies, like let's take Mulan for an example. Mulan, she was all set out to, protect her father. Her father was too old to go to war. She was trying to protect her country from the invasion of the Han. And in the end, she found out that, she could, even though she was a girl in ancient China, she could still, hold her own. She was just as strong as the guys. So she learned that she was more than she was letting herself be. The main idea is the most important part of the story or paragraph. Again, it's the brain, it's the car engine. You need it to run the show. So what is the main idea again? It's what the reading, the story, the video, the poem, the song is all about. The purpose behind it. Why did the person sit down and create this? What was their thinking? Why would they create this? Sometimes you're going to read something and it's like, how did this even get published? Like this is just a complete smack in the face to the entire Enlightenment. The whole reason Gutenberg invented the printing press was to open interpretation. And there are some things out there you read and you're just like, but why though? I don't know. Money is always a good motivation. So let's look at these 6 W's, I like to call them. That first one is your who. Who is the story about? Who are the main characters? Now you can translate that over to a nonfiction text, such as something in your science or in a history you're taking. So if we're talking about history, let's talk about the French Revolution. Who was involved? Napoleon Bonaparte, Robespierre, Queen Marie Antoinette, King Louis the 16th, the Fisher Wharf people who went and stormed the Bastille. There's a lot of contributing players. So if you turn the boring reading, the nonfiction reading into a story, it actually gets a little bit more interesting. So first thing you always want to identify is the who. You can do this through color coding. You can do this through, making a little map like over here on the side where we got main idea in the middle. and it branches off. Then we look at the when. When did the events happen? When did it take place? Now, there will always be a specific point in time. 1776, the Declaration of Independence will always be written. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor will always be bombed. September 11th, 2001, we will always have a terrorist attack in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. That's a fixed moment in time. For my Doctor Who fans, Angels of Manhattan right there. That's a good episode. Also, with your upper level histories, meaning your high school histories, and if you want to go on to college, then this will include your college histories as well. But for your high school history classes, this is going to include eras. The Industrial Revolution, the Victorian period, the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression. Centuries even fall into this. The 17th century, the 18th century, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. These are all specific eras. So it's going to take a little bit more interpretation and looking more at the broader scope of what was going on around the world. The next one is the wheres, and that's the one in purple. Where were the characters? Where did this information take place? Where did this story take place? The American Revolution will always take place in the 13 colonies. The French Revolution will always take place on the streets in Paris. The Bolsheviks will always kill the Romanovs in what was imperialistic Russia. And then Russia actually goes through an identity crisis, and after World War I, Russia changes to the Soviet Union, and then with the fall of communism in 1992, by the way, that's on your final exam, it goes back to being Russia. It's the same thing, but if we call it Soviet Union, that's Russia during the time of communism. Kind of crazy, I know. The next thing we want to look at is your what, and that's in blue. And that, again, is your main idea. What is the story all about? What was the problem? Now, over here on the right-hand side, where it says main ideas, and then to the right bottom corner is your what's. A good thing to put in there would be like your cause and effect. So your main idea, you want to tell yourself what the whole reading was about, and then break it up. Tell yourself who was involved. Where did it take place? Not just include the years, but include the era as well. Tell yourself, okay, so that was for the whens. The whens, you want to break that down like that. The wheres, where did it happen? Did it happen in colonial America? Did it happen in a Chinese dynasty somewhere? Did it happen during one of India's golden ages? Then for your what's, cause and effect. Now for your whys, contemporary world issues is all about the whys, and that's the one over on the left-hand side in yellow. Why did the problem happen? Why did they solve it in that way? So we always want to look at the interpretation. The beauty of history is that you can interpret and you can analyze and you can use the information to support your opinion. Even if you have to turn it around, you can still use it to support your own opinion. That's the beauty of history. So we always want to look at the why. Why did they vote a certain way? Why did they ratify the Constitution? Why did they create the Bill of Rights? Why did Rousseau's social contract look a little different from Locke's social contract? Why did they keep some things from the English Bill of Rights and transfer them over to the American Bill of Rights? And why did they not? You know, in America, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The English Bill of Rights says the right to life, liberty, and property. Why did we change the last little bit? Why not scrap it and start anew? And then the last thing is the how. How did they solve a problem? And if you are a Sound of Music fan, if the song How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria pops into your head, I'm right there with you. So your hows is kind of like what happened later, that long-term effect. An easy way to do this, if you're like me, you're a visual person, grab a piece of paper, put a circle in the middle of your piece of paper, write down your main idea, and then branch it out. Who, where, when, and then underneath, why, what, how. Last thing we want to look at is our closed note reading, which is going to involve me like touching buttons, so we'll see how well that turns out for me. Probably not well at all. buttons don't like me today. All right, I'm just going to block these off like that. So what I'm doing is I am making closed notes. If you've never done closed notes before, it's actually really helpful. I was not a very good reader in school, dyslexia and all that. So this actually helped out quite a bit. Ooh, this looks pretty good. I'm actually very pleased with that. Yay, and I didn't break anything. I already crashed Blackboard Connect trying to make this video twice, so hence why I'm over here now. Okay, I'm not going to be able to highlight it, unfortunately, which makes me sad. But we'll make do. Okay, so that first little section, what you want to do with your closed note reading. For every paragraph, you just want to kind of break it up into sections, into paragraphs, just block it off. So that first section, since 1972, the Iowa caucus has been the first electoral test on the road to each party's presidential nomination. But why Iowa? Well, we can thank the 1968 Democratic Convention. So what I want to do over here on the side, if I can get it to work, it's a big if, there we go, is, if you're not sure of vocabulary, look the vocabulary up. Don't be afraid to look up vocabulary if you don't understand something. All right, I'm going to look up caucus. I don't know what caucus means. Well, I mean, I do, but for the sake of this. Caucus. Did I spell it right? No, because I can't spell. Okay, so I looked up caucus, and it says that it's a meeting of the members of legislative body who are members of a particular political party to select candidates or decide policy. So cool. It's a group of people that work for a particular political party to pick candidates. Awesome. We can totally do that. So we're going to say group of people for a political, did I spell right? No. It's like yelling at me. It's like, you can't spell Misty K. I know. Political party to choose a candidate. And then if I look right here, it tells me presidential nomination. It's right there. And look at that. I have made pretty notes. Now I can easily refer to that after I clean up my spelling, because no, I can't spell. That's rather large font. Whee! Shrink. Much better. Okay, and then the next section. The lead up to the convention had been tumultuous. The Vietnam War was in its 14th year. Both Martin Luther King Jr. and presidential candidate Robert Kennedy were assassinated that spring, and President LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, had withdrawn from the race in March, deciding against seeking another term. That April, Hubert Humphrey, Johnson's vice president, jumped into the race. Humphrey's public support of Johnson, specifically regarding the Vietnam War, upset many anti-war protesters, which during this time there was a lot. While Democratic political leaders filled into the convention hall, protesters brutally clashed with police right outside its doors, with television broadcasting the political divide to the nation. Hubert Humphrey would go on to win the Democratic nomination over George McGovern and Eugene McCarthy, despite not winning a single primary, highlighting for many the disparity between public opinion and political process. That was a lot of information right there. So how can I make that a little bit more human in a way? How can we get that more understanding out of it? Well, one thing we can do is be like, all right, what was all of that about? Well, let's think of our who's. We got LBJ, and we got his vice presidential campaign, Hubert Humphrey. So Hubert Humphrey did what now? Won with no support from the majority of young people. And he didn't win a primary either, or a primary. So he really didn't have the backing of the people, and he really didn't have the backing of a lot of political affiliations, but he still won. Boom, there you go. And then you would just kind of continue on, but because this recording is almost out of time, that's pretty much the easiest way to make the reading a little less painful for you. Remember, look for your main idea, what the reading is all about. Break it up into your 6 W's, your who, when, where. Then look at your what, cause and effect. Why's, why did it happen? And how's, how is it fixed?